Hey guys, welcome to CyberPlatter. This is a full course on Microsoft Sentinel. In this chapter, we'll discuss how to automate threat responses in Sentinel. So Microsoft Sentinel is not only a SIEM system but also serves as a platform for SOAR, that is security orchestration, automation and response. One of its main function is to streamline and automate security operations. Before we start, if you have missed any previous chapters, you can find the links and the full playlist in the description below. First, let's see why do we need to automate responses to threats. First one is it reduces alert fatigue. So automation helps to prioritize and filter alerts, right? So this reduces the noise and false positives that overwhelm analysts. So by automating the triage process, only critical threats are escalated. Next, it improves incident response time. Automating response actions like blocking IP addresses or isolating affected systems speeds up containment and remediation. This allows organizations to respond more swiftly, limiting the damage caused by incidents and reducing recovery time. So next is to free up analysts for threat hunting and investigations. So when you automate routine tasks, right, analysts can focus on more strategic activities like investigating sophisticated threats or proactively hunting for potential vulnerabilities. This enhances the effectiveness of the security team and improves overall threat detection capabilities. Now let's see what are the options to automate responses in Sentinel. The first one is using automation rules. The second one is Playbooks, Azure Logic Amps. This is the actual source solution. With automation rules, you can manage incident handling centrally. For example, using Microsoft Sentinel's centralized dashboard, all alerts related to a potential phishing attack are automatically collected, categorized and prioritized. This ensures that analysts handle them efficiently and in a consistent manner. Then you can use it to assign playbooks to incidents and alerts. Suppose say if a ransomware alert is triggered, an automated playbook is assigned to the incident that includes steps for isolating affected systems, notifying the team and blocking malicious IP addresses. So this ensures a quick response. You can also use automation rules to automatically tag, assign or close incidents. For example, say that a low priority alert for a network scan that is done by an internal team is created. So when this is done, the system can automatically tag it as low priority, assign it to a specific analyst or close it if no further action is needed. This reduces manual tasks. Then you can use it to automate responses for multiple analytics rules. For example, if multiple suspicious login attempts are detected across different systems, an automation rule can modify the incident severity or status, assign the incident to a specific team, add relevant tags to it for easier categorization, send notifications to the security team. This allows multiple rules to be addressed simultaneously without manual intervention. Next, you can use automation rules to create structured workflows for security analysts. Say a malware detection alert is triggered. Just like how we discussed for suspicious login attempts, the same actions can be taken for this also. That first it changes the incident classification based on some predefined criteria. Then it is assigning to a specific security analyst who is an expert in malware detection and response. And then it is adding comments with investigation steps. And then it is tagging similar incidents for correlation. So these actions help ensure a streamlined and consistent incident management process. Next is the playbooks option. So automation rules also help with automation, right? But they are mostly for simpler tasks. But playbooks, you can use it for more complex items. And this is the actual source solution that is provided by Sentinel. First item it can do is to automate and orchestrate threat response. For instance, a playbook triggered by a DDoS attack automatically triggers traffic filtering at the firewall, updates the monitoring dashboard, and sends notifications to the response team. And all this is done without any manual intervention. Next, integrate with external and internal systems. For example, a playbook designed for an advanced persistent threat, that is APT, could integrate with email security, firewall, and endpoint detection systems. And it can automatically block the attacker's IP, quarantine infected devices, and block phishing emails. Next, you can run playbooks automatically or manually on new alerts. For example, for a suspected data exfiltration attempt, an automated playbook could immediately trigger steps like isolating the affected server and notifying the admin. But a security analyst can also manually run the playbook to execute specific actions based on further investigation. Next, playbooks are built on Azure Logic Apps for scalability and reliability. So a playbook built on Azure Logic Apps can automatically respond to an increased number of alerts during a large-scale attack, such as, say, a coordinated botnet attack. So this is done without compromising performance and ensuring the system remains responsive even under heavy load. Now let's go to the demo part. We will start with first creating an automation rule. Let's go to the Azure portal. Let's search for Sentinel, select Microsoft Sentinel and then the Sentinel workspace. Here, scroll down to configuration and then go to automation here. And then click create and then there is automation rule. So create automation rule. The first thing that you need to do when designing an automation rule is to identify the specific incidents or alerts it should apply to. Once you are done with this, the next is you have to decide what you want to achieve with this automation. For example, assign tasks to security analysts for triaging, investigating and remediating incidents, suppressing noisy incidents, managing incident workflows by updating the status from new to active and assigning a owner. Or do you want to tag incidents to improve classification and tracking? Do you want to escalate incidents by reassigning ownership? You can also close resolved incidents and also specify a reason and add comments to this. You can analyze incident details like alerts, entities, properties and take further action using playbooks. You can also handle or respond to alerts that do not have an associated incident. So first thing is that you identify what kind of specific incidents or alerts this automation rule should apply to, and then you can decide what you want to achieve with this automation rule. Let's go back to the portal. First is the automation rule. I will say this is for, so in the previous demos we created a rule in analytics saying that if there is any new ID created in Entra ID, new user created in Entra ID, trigger an alert. For the same thing, we will create an automation rule. Say new user automation. First one is trigger. Trigger is when this automation rule should run. So there are three options. When an incident is created, so a new incident created within the Defender portal or Microsoft Sentinel, and then when an incident is updated, so you can run an automation rule when incident status changes like closed, reopened or triaged, incident ownership is assigned or updated, incident severity is modified, new alerts are added to an existing incident, or comments, tags or tactics are added to a new incident. And then when an alert is created, this is generally done by using Microsoft Sentinel scheduled or near real-time NRT analytics roles. For this, we will select when incident is created. Next one is conditions. So you can also specify conditions to determine when a rule should execute. These conditions are case sensitive and they also change based on the trigger. So if I select something else in the trigger, when incident is updated, this also changes. When alert is created, again you can see the change. So let's go back to when incident is created. First one is if incident provider equals, we will select Microsoft Sentinel. There are two options, Defender XDR and Microsoft Sentinel. We'll go with Microsoft Sentinel. Then analytic rule name contains and does not contain. Even here incident provider, it says equals and does not equal to. So I will say contains, and in this I will say new user creation. So it's an AND operator here, if you can see it. If incident provider is Microsoft Sentinel and analytic rule name is equal to new user creation, that means both of these conditions should meet for this automation rule to get triggered. You can add more conditions by clicking add. It says condition and condition group or. So for AND, all conditions must be met for this automation rule to trigger, and for OR, at least one condition must be met for this rule to trigger. So if I click any of this and click the arrow, you can see that incident properties using title, description, severity, status, tactics, tag and custom details key, you can trigger this automation rule. And you can also use the entity properties in the incident or alert for triggering the this one. So you can use what file name can be there, and for false positives, if this file name repeats in the entity, you can close it. It's just an example. Or host name, IP address, you can select. You get a lot of options to select from here. So for now I'll delete this. Next is actions. In actions, you can run a playbook, change status, change severity, assign owner, add tags, add task. Let's first select change status and change it to active. And then you can add another action, say that change severity and then change it to high. And then add another action. You can also assign an owner to this. I'll assign my own name, and then add another action. You can add tags. I will say testing automation rule, apply, and then add another action. You can add tasks. So if I provide the incident task title, saying testing, and then you can also add a description to this saying, once you see an incident like this, validate the scope of the alert, run so and so queries, stop suspicious process and isolate the affected machines, block so and so IP addresses and URLs. So you can add tasks also here. So for now I'll delete this. And then you can also add rule expiration. It says the rule will be automatically disabled at the given expiration date. I'm going to leave it as indefinite. And something that I also wanted to show is in actions, you can actually decide which one should happen first. You can move it using these arrow marks. Next is order. It says automation rules will be run in the order that is defined in the order field. Each automation rule will be executed serially after the previous rules in an ascending order. If you want this rule to run before an existing rule, you can also change this number. And then say apply. It says saving automation rule. The automation rule is now saved. And this is how you create an automation rule. Now let's see how to trigger this. Let's go to Entra ID, add user, create new user, user principal name, testing automation rule, same display name, password is auto generated, that is fine. Let's go ahead and review and create, and then say create. Successfully created new user. Now let's go back to Sentinel, Microsoft Sentinel, Sentinel Workspace, and then incidents. It will take a few minutes. Now under incidents, you can see that there are incidents created. I was testing something else, so there are other incidents as well, but let's go to the one that was triggered by the automation rule. Let's select this. It's near real time, new user creation. Let's scroll down, view full details. So if you see, what we did in the automation rule was to change the severity to high. This has happened. And to change the status from new to active. That has also happened. And then assign it to an owner. And then tag this incident. So you can see the tagging as well. Testing automation rule. You can also see it under activity log. If I click activity log, it clearly says, so you'll have to scroll down. First incident was created. Incident status was changed to active by automation rule, new user, incident automation. And then severity was changed to high again by the automation rule. And the owner was changed to Navya by automation rule. And then there was also a tag that was attached to this incident. And then I will close this. So this is how you can use automation rules. You can also try running playbooks with this. Once you create playbooks, you can attach it to the automation rules like we saw before. Let me go back to Sentinel. Now we will see how to create and configure playbooks. Before we start with creating playbooks, let's see what are some of the recommended use cases for Microsoft Sentinel playbooks. First one is enrichment. Playbooks can collect additional data and attach it to an incident, helping security teams make better informed decisions. For example, a playbook automatically enriches an alert about a suspicious IP by querying external threat intelligence sources and then appends the reputation score to the incident. External threat intelligence sources like VirusTotal, Microsoft Defender Threat Intelligence, you can get data from these. Next use case is bidirectional sync. So playbooks help synchronize Microsoft Sentinel incidents with external ticketing systems to ensure incidents are tracked properly. For example, when an incident is created in Microsoft Sentinel, a playbook automatically opens a corresponding ticket in ServiceNow, Jira, or other IT service management tool. And when an incident is updated or resolved in ServiceNow, the same update is reflected back in Microsoft Sentinel. The next one is orchestration. Playbooks facilitate better coordination and communication among security teams by integrating with collaboration tools. For example, a playbook detects a high severity security alert. Then it sends an automated message to the SOC teams, Microsoft Teams or Slack channel, ensuring analysts are immediately informed. The playbook assigns incidents to specific analysts based on predefined criteria, ensuring an efficient workflow. The next recommended use case is response. Playbooks enable automatic or semi-automatic responses to mitigate threats quickly. Example, if a playbook detects a compromised user account, that is, say, multiple failed login attempts followed by an unusual access. If it detects something like this, it can automatically disable the account in Entra ID and notify administrators. Also, during an investigation, an analyst can manually trigger a playbook to isolate a suspected compromised device from the network while gathering forensic data for further analysis. So these are the recommended use cases of Sentinel playbooks. So if we go back to the portal and then under configuration, go to automation and then click create. Here you can create playbook with incident trigger, alert trigger, entity trigger, or you can also create a blank playbook. Usually the recommended practice is to go to playbook templates and start using the templates that is already provided by Microsoft Sentinel. For example, like the use case that we discussed, let's search for VirusTotal. There is one. Under that there are so many of them. Let's select this. Let's click view details. So it talks about VirusTotal, what it can help you with. It also gives you the details that the VirusTotal solution for Microsoft Sentinel contains playbooks that can help enrich incident creation with threat information and intelligence for IPs, file hashes, and URLs from VirusTotal. Let's go back, and there are 9 playbooks in this. Let's say install. Installation is in progress. Now it is successfully installed. Now let me click manage. It says 9 of them have been installed, but it requires configuration because you'll have to connect your VirusTotal account with this. So these are the playbooks that are available. So it says get VirusTotal domain report for alert triggered, domain report for incident triggered, file info for both of them, IP report, then URL report. If you select one of these, let me select IP report for incident triggered. This is the playbook. Click create. So then there is subscription resource group like any other resource in Azure. Then the region. It is set to the same region as your log analytics workspace. So it is grayed out. Then provide the playbook name. So then there is an option to enable diagnostics logs and log analytics. This says push runtime events to log analytics to help monitor your playbook. If you want to do that, you can select this. For now, I'm gonna unselect it. Then say connections. It says for each connector this playbook uses, you can choose to use an existing connection from another playbook. Otherwise, you must create a new connection and authenticate when you are brought to the Logic Apps Designer page. So I'm going to review and create. So it's giving me a warning sign saying authorize this connection after deployment in the Logic App Designer. It's for Azure Log Analytics Data Collector, Azure Microsoft Sentinel and VirusTotal. Let me create the playbook. Deployment in progress. So the deployment is complete and here is the Logic app for this. You can click on these blocks to see what it is doing. Connected to Get VirusTotal Report Incident Trigger. What it is trying to do. So the trigger is Microsoft Sentinel. The playbook starts when a Sentinel incident is triggered. And then get IPs. It extracts IP addresses related to the incident. And then for each IP address that is extracted from the incident, it can do these actions. First is get an IP report. That is from threat intelligence sources, like in this case VirusTotal. It's going to do that. And then there is a condition. In this condition check, this is a decision point based on the incident report, that is checking if an IP is malicious. If it is malicious, it takes an action such as blocking the IP or escalating it and then adding a comment to the incident. If it is false, that if the IP is non-malicious, you can set it to mark it possibly safe and then log notes in the incident. So the invalid error connection that I'm getting is because that these connectors are unauthorized. That means I've not connected anything yet. So with this Logic app, that is the playbook, you can ensure that all extracted IPs are checked, categorized and logged appropriately in Microsoft Sentinel. Let's go back to Sentinel. Under Content Hub, I will say content type, only playbooks. And then like the example we discussed, we can search for ServiceNow. There is one for ServiceNow as well. So create ServiceNow record, alert triggered, and then create an update ServiceNow record. Let me click ServiceNow. It also tells us what are the things that it can do. The ServiceNow ITSM solution for Microsoft Sentinel makes it easy to synchronize incidents between Microsoft Sentinel and ServiceNow. So there are two options that it provides to do this. The first option is the recommended one where bidirectional incident sync happens. That is, retrieve Microsoft Sentinel incidents and automate the creation of incidents in ServiceNow. Bidirectional sync of status, severity, owner, comments, work notes, entities and alerts. Details of alerts and entities added to work notes. Filtering of Microsoft Sentinel incidents based on tags or custom filters. So this is the playbook that you see in most of the organizations that you use, because it's very easy to maintain incidents with this bidirectional sync. And then there is also another option which you can do, unidirectional sync from Microsoft Sentinel to ServiceNow. only from Sentinel to ServiceNow, not the other way around. There are 3 playbooks for this, like you can see here. Let me say install and then click view details and then click manage. Again the same error because we have not configured it, ServiceNow details. There's one saying create and update ServiceNow record, create snow record, alert trigger, create snow record, incident trigger. Let me click create snow record incident trigger. Select this and say create playbook. Again you get the subscription and resource group, playbook name, go to connections. You will have to connect ServiceNow here. For now we'll say review and create. We do have the warning signs. For now we'll just go ahead and say create playbook. The deployment is successful. So Microsoft Sentinel incident is the trigger. You're initializing variable and then switch case severity high, case severity medium. You can add more as well. And then you can create the records. This is done in ServiceNow. For that you need to enter the details. You can also run any of the playbooks manually as well. You can try testing the connection using run. This is a logic app, so you can try running it manually as well. Let's go back. So here if you see in the prerequisites, right, it also says you need existing Snow instance and also Snow credentials, username and password for this. Let me close this. Let me go to the Content Hub. There are other useful playbook templates as well, like for example Entra ID. See this? Let's select this. Let's click manage. It's already installed for one of the previous chapters, so you don't have to do it again. So if you see here, there are 11 playbooks in this solution. Let me go next. Yeah, here we do have the playbook. So block Entra ID alert, block Entra ID user entity trigger, prompt user alert, prompt user incident, reset Entra ID password. So there are so many playbooks available here as well, and you can click on it to see what is the description, how you can do it. So for block Microsoft Entra ID user, it says for each account entity included in the alert, this playbook will disable the user in Microsoft Entra ID, add a comment to the incident that contains this alert, and then notify manager if available. It also gives you a note saying this playbook will not disable admin user. And then if you go back to the Content Hub and search for SOAR, there is Sentinel SOAR Essentials. This is a solution. Let's install this. It's in progress. Okay, it got installed. Let me go back to it. It says the Microsoft Sentinel SOAR Essential Solution for Microsoft Sentinel contains playbooks that can help you get started with basic notification and orchestration scenarios for common use cases. These include playbooks for sending notifications over email, collaboration platforms such as Microsoft Teams, and so on. It has 18 playbooks. Let's hit manage. So first one is create incident from Microsoft Forms response. What this will do, it will create a Microsoft Sentinel incident when Microsoft Forms response is submitted. This is a very common use case. Usually the customers of your organization might be using a form to create their complaints, or something is not working, and that you can use that form to create Sentinel alerts or incidents. And then there is a playbook to create a new incident when a new email arrives. So you can send an email to a shared mailbox, and that will create a Microsoft Sentinel incident. But you have to send an email with incident keyword in the subject. So there are also playbooks like this, which will give you instructions of what to do when there is a ransomware attack. So it says this playbook will walk the analysts through 4 stages of responding to a ransomware incident, that is containment, investigation, eradication and recovery, and then prevention. So when you're giving step-by-step instructions to the analysts, you're making them more efficient and use their time more wisely. And then there are notifications that you can send when an incident is closed. So this playbook is utilizing new update trigger to notify person or group on Microsoft Teams or Outlook when incident is closed or incident is reopened, incident severity is changed notification, and then you can post message on Slack. Whenever there is an incident created, you can post it on Slack channel. Same for an alert, and then post messages on Teams for incident as well as an alert. There is also a playbook that looks for other alerts with the same IP as the triggered incident. When such an alert is found, this playbook will add the alert to the incident. And this will do it only if that incident is not already related to that alert is not already related to another incident. There's also, you can send emails when an incident is created with basic details like incident title, severity, tactics, what is the link. There is another one which says incident assignment shift. This is interesting because this playbook will assign an incident to an owner based on the shift scheduled in Microsoft Teams. So when an incident is assigned, the incident owner will be notified, with an email. And then there is update trigger notify owner. This playbook sends a team message to the new incident owner. Let's go back to the home page. Under configuration, automation, playbook templates, you can customize all of these templates as well. You can add your own details to all of them. And one more setting that I wanted to show was under configuration, settings. Here go to settings again. And then if you scroll down, there is playbook permissions. This controls who and what can execute and modify logic app playbooks in Microsoft Sentinel. So these permissions ensure secure automation and integration with external services. So Microsoft Sentinel automation rules can trigger logic app playbooks, right, for incident response. But for a playbook to be used, specific permissions must be granted to the appropriate users or services. So if I click configure permissions, it says choose the resource groups that contain the playbooks you want to give Microsoft Sentinel permissions to run. So I'm going to choose Sentinel RG and then say apply. It is adding permissions, says finished adding permissions. That is one thing you need to set. If at all you're having permissions problems, maybe this is the place that you want to check once. So that's it for this chapter, guys. In this chapter, we discussed what are automated responses to threats in Sentinel, how you can configure them, why do you need them, what are the different ways, that is automation rules, and playbook using Azure Logic Apps, that is the source solution of Sentinel, how to create automation rules, how to create playbooks, what are the usually used recommended use cases for both of these. I hope this video was helpful. If so, please don't forget to like, subscribe and share our videos. That helps us a lot too. Thank you so much for watching. Bye bye.